The flower slipped from his hand and hit the ground. Right there, at his son's grave, stood a little girl crying, her tiny hand tracing the name carved in stone. And in that moment, billionaire Richard Hale's entire world began to crumble. My name is Sarah Cooper, and I'm from Denver, Colorado. Today, I'm sharing a story that reminds us, no amount of wealth can heal a heart built on regret. Richard Hale was one of the richest men in Chicago. He built skyscrapers, companies, and a reputation for being ruthless. But 5 years ago, he lost the only person who ever dared to challenge him, his son Daniel, a decorated war hero. Daniel had died overseas, and every Sunday since, Richard drove to the cemetery with the same bouquet of wildflowers, a small gesture of guilt for a lifetime of absence. That Sunday, something was different. As his Rolls-Royce stopped by the hill overlooking the lake, Richard stepped out, expecting silence. But instead, he saw her, a girl, maybe 10 years old, sitting quietly at Daniel's grave crying. Her blonde hair fell over her face, her blue dress faded and worn. He'd never seen her before. "Hey," Richard said, his deep voice breaking the still air. "What are you doing here?" The girl flinched, her eyes wide, frightened. For a split second, Richard saw something familiar in her blue eyes. Then she ran. She bolted through the trees and disappeared before he could even move. When he looked down, he saw something she'd left behind, a small white wooden bird, chipped and old, still warm from her hands. That night, Richard couldn't sleep. The image of that girl haunted him. Who was she? Why was she crying at his son's grave? At 2 a.m., Richard picked up his phone. "Marcus," he said to his private investigator, "find that girl. I don't know her name, but she was at my son's grave." By morning, the answer came. Her name was Emily Carter, 10 years old. She lived with her mother, Laura, in an abandoned building on the city's south side, a condemned place Richard's company once owned. Laura Carter had been one of his former maids. She had quit 6 months after Daniel's funeral. Ignoring his driver's warning, Richard went there himself. The air smelled of rust and dust. The stairwell creaked beneath his shoes. He found apartment 3B. When the door cracked open, he saw her, Laura, pale thin, her face filled with shock. "Mr. Hale," she whispered. "I need to talk to you," he said. "You shouldn't be here," she snapped. "Leave us alone." But then a small voice came from behind her. "Mom, who is it?" And there she was, the girl from the cemetery, Emily. When she saw Richard, she froze. Then her eyes filled with recognition. He held up the little wooden bird. "You dropped this," he said softly. Her face lit up. "My daddy made that," she whispered. Richard felt his heart stop. "Her daddy?" He turned to Laura. "Tell me what she means." Laura's lips trembled. "Please just go. Tell me," he demanded. Tears streamed down Laura's face. "Yes," she said finally. "Daniel was her father." The world went silent. Richard staggered back, his knees weak. That little girl, the child who had been crying at the grave, was Daniel's daughter, his granddaughter. Richard stood there, staring at the closed door. Behind it, he could hear Emily's small voice asking, "Mom, is he gone?" His throat tightened. For years, he'd believed his empire was his legacy. But his true legacy, his son's daughter, was living in poverty just a few miles from his mansion. That night, he sat alone in his empty study, holding the tiny bird in his hand. The walls that had once made him feel powerful now felt like a prison. He whispered to himself, "I had a son I didn't know, and a granddaughter I never met." And for the first time in his life, billionaire Richard Hale cried, "No amount of money can buy back time or love. Don't wait until it's too late to show the people you care about that they matter, because the real wealth of life is family." If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Moralist, where every story reminds you that the richest hearts aren't the ones with gold, but with love.